That's right. It's Monday night. Sports on the Hill podcast, True Radio Network, CP3 coming to you live from the lab. Robbie G live in the man cave, bringing you another great episode of Sports OTHP, episode 259. We got some Capitals talk to recap last week. We got some Winter Olympics talk brought to you by Robbie and some of his Twitch buddies that's going to be on the show with bringing in that new audience. I know Robbie started his feed already. I want to appreciate you guys that's tuning in. See, you got Robbie got some company in the feed already, causing some havoc. But we appreciate y'all tuning in. I know Robbie's doing a lot of good things over there on Twitch and is gaining a lot of friends and followers of the show. So we appreciate that. And then, as always, we'll end the show with the NBA roundtable. I'll be making an early exit tonight because I haven't really been able to keep up with the Olympics, and basketball just isn't my thing. And I'm going to talk about the Washington Commanders and the name change and some of the thoughts of the fans and my thoughts on the name and my feelings toward everything that's been going on the past few days. But Robbie G, how's it going tonight, good sir?
It's going well. Just sharing to a couple of groups. I've got a dog here that's trying to get into everything that's possible. She's a puppy. She it is what it is. But yeah, it's been a good week. I wish I had gotten to see a little bit more of the Olympics. It's been pretty exciting, but I'm really excited I have a whole team of people that are going to help break it down. The All-Star game is really exciting too. Now the cat and the dog are chasing each other. Such is life. And yeah, so but I did catch a lot of the All-Star game, and it's oh my god. It's so bad. But it was really good to catch a bunch of the All-Star stuff and for the Olympic stuff. And yeah, I can't wait to break it all down with you and the rest of our team. We got some special guests coming on the show in a little bit. Davey the Sandwich Guy is going to talk Olympics with us. And we've got Stuart, who's the Mod Father, which I'll explain the name in a little bit. He'll be joining us for our All-Star coverage. But before we get into that, we can start off with some hockey talk. I'm just sharing to the last two groups right now. Yeah, it was a interesting up and down week. The game we were a little bit more worried about, we actually won, and the game that maybe we were a little less worried about, we didn't. Now, one caveat is one game we had Ovechkin in, and the other game we didn't. So obviously that makes a pretty big difference between these two games. But let's talk about the first one first. I'm just pulling up the scores right now. So it was against the Penguins. It was an exciting matchup. It started off with Nick Dowd scoring his sixth goal of the season, shorthanded. So Daniel Sprong took a holding penalty, and then Nick Dowd, just a couple of seconds into that holding penalty, scored that shorthanded one. Unfortunately, Malkin also scored on that same power play about 30 seconds later, made it 1-1. Russ scored his 13th of the season, another power play goal, assisted unfortunately by Sidney Crosby, made it 2-1 Pittsburgh. Dmitry Orlov on the power play, just a couple minutes later, a little less than 5 minutes later, scored his sixth goal of the season, assisted by Connor Sherry, his 10th assist, and Justin Schultz, eighth assist. The first goal was assisted by Carl Hagelin, his sixth. I didn't mention that. But anyway, we were tied 2-2 after the first period. The second period, another power play goal, this time by Russ, his second of the game, his 14th on the season. Another assist by Sidney Crosby, and another assist by Jake Gensel. Basically the exact same line as the previous goal. They put him up 3-2. And then Daniel Sprong scored in the final minute of the second period, his eighth of the season, assisted by John Carlson, his 25th. It was a really nice goal. Ties the game at 3. And then Dmitry Orlov, 4 minutes, 17 seconds into overtime, goes the 4 minute, 17 second mark of overtime. Dmitry Orlov scores his seventh goal of the season, assisted by Evgeny Kuznetsov, his 31st, and Tom Wilson, his 18th. Both of the people that assisted on that were in the All-Star game that we'll talk about in a little bit. But let's break that down, Carol, a little bit further. What were some of your thoughts on this up and down game that was very much based on the power play and penalty kill, I thought was important in that game.
Yeah, this definitely was a crazy game. Started out with the Caps taking an early penalty, uh, which has been a trend lately. But to kick it off, they got a shorthanded goal, which put them up 1-0. And then on the same power play, the Penguins scored. Then the Caps took another bad penalty, gave up another goal. Then Orlov scored on the power play. So the first 4 goals of the game were all special teams. It was a crazy game. Then the next goal by Russ was a power play. So we had 5 goals in a row that was all, special teams. And Sprong with a great play to, get the game back even. And then your boy Skorlov, as you like to call him, with 2 very important goals, the game winner in overtime and very crucial goal in the third period. We gave him a shout out a couple of weeks ago. He's definitely been playing very well, and hope to continue on the trend that he's going right now.
Yeah, for sure. I was really excited. I was really nervous about this game though, because as a back-to-back, we had a really tough matchup on the second half of this. But I was super happy that we would get the win, especially in Pittsburgh. Let me let my dog out. Hold on.
Go ahead. That was a huge win in Pittsburgh, especially the fact that they beat the Capitals here at home, and that overtime win. I think they said that was the first time the Caps have won in overtime since what it was 2000 and I want to say 11, but it might have been drawing a blank. I talked to Robbie about it. It's been a while since the Capitals defeated Pittsburgh in overtime in Pittsburgh. And Robbie, what was it? In 2011, they said it was, or 2017. I can't remember. They said the last time the Caps beat Pittsburgh in overtime.
Well, the last time was in 2018 in the playoffs, which is the only one that really matters. But the last regular season one, I think wasn't something like that. It's been a long time. Although we've done pretty well in Pittsburgh, just not in overtime.
Which is a trend with this season also.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm happy that lately in overtime we've been playing better. But you got to figure with the odds. I mean, we were like 0 for 9 in our first, so like they have to come back around. We're too good of a team. We're too skilled. I mean, it shows. We'll talk a little bit about it in the All-Star game, but it's, having a Tom Wilson and a Kuzi, they're both great 3-on-3 players. Both of them have scored, goals in overtimes in the past. And, they obviously both played very well and were the first goal scorers on their respective games in the All-Star game for both games. So we clearly have the skill there. It's becoming a possession game where a lot of players are trying to possess the puck and cycle back and try to catch the other team off guard. The format for overtime has kind of changed, I would say, this season over previous seasons. People, at least when they're playing the Capitals, can kind of see that they're going to try to tire us out and then attack, just try not to give the puck back to the Capitals as much as possible.
They definitely use a lot more strategy when playing the Capitals. They play a lot more keep away. And, they clear the zone out and, change up to try to catch us on a bad change or with, not a defenseman on the ice and try to take advantage. So teams are definitely playing the Capitals different. And it also trickles down from the power play because the teams are playing, they're playing a more of a pressure game because they know the Capitals aren't in sync. And that's just adding to the problems with the power play that the opponents are taking away time and space and they're not able to, get those passes or get, with Oshie still being out, that's a key piece to that power play because he plays that bumper position so well and he's so deadly from that spot where he's able to pass or he'll take that one-time shot as soon as it's Nicky or Kuzi set it up for him. So I'm still attributing the bad power play to us not being full strength, but they definitely have to do something on the power play because they're going into the next game. That was a very big issue and one of the main reasons why they lost that game. But,
for sure.
We also Oshie about how soon, what injury and how soon he might be back because I haven't heard anything at all.
Yeah, and I don't think he wasn't practicing today, so I think it's still week to week at this point. And also Ovi got put in a protocol right after this game, which the timing seems so suspect to me at first, right? Because we know that if he misses the All-Star game, He's got to take a game off. And they've been lobbying all season long that he's not going to miss it this year. He's going to be there, blah, 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 blah. And then he had a COVID test and it went, positive. And I was like, well, that's a way to get out of, having, the thing. But then I found out that his wife was flying all the way from Russia, left their kids back in Russia, flying all the way to DC to fly to LA with him to celebrate going to the All-Star game. And I'm like, that seems like a lot to try to fly her all the way over. And she's like documenting the whole thing on Instagram. So you see she's on the airplane, she arrives in DC only to turn around and fly right back. Like that seems like that would be an awful big ruse if they're trying to try to pull one over on people. But yeah, so it was crazy. He didn't play in the second game, and I think that really hurts us. I mean, especially in the power play, having him out there, even if he doesn't score, he draws a crowd, right? He draws 1 to 2 players. So like it opens up a lot of opportunities for the other players on the team. And so that obviously is a struggle. The game started off horribly for the Caps. I mean, in the first period, they gave up a goal to one of the highest goal scorers in the league, in Draisaitl, minute 30 into the first. Then 3 minutes in, Evander Kane, the guy who the Capitals could have got, but we didn't want because we thought it could be a headache, right? Which I still don't disagree with that decision.
No, I don't.
But at the same time, he knows that we could have had them, and I'm sure that was fuel for the fire for him, right? So he scores. And then Connor McDavid, who is just amazing, he's just an incredible player. He scores on the power play. The fact that they've got such talent on their team and they are out of the playoff hunt right now, it's crazy to me. And that's why I tell my dad was like, oh, they're not very good. Look at where they are in the standings. I was like, you got to always look at what are they doing now? Because their last 5, we talked about it last week, they had won 4 out of 5. So that's obviously they're trending in the right direction. You have 2 of the top 4 point getters in the league on different lines. So it's not like you could say, oh, it's like Ovi and Backstrom where they always assist on each other's goals. They're going to have the same number of points or whatever. There are centers on 2 different lines, but they do get a lot of points on the power play. So they do sometimes, play together in that fashion. But still, right, they should be better than they are. Yeah, and according to the standings, at least, I think.
If when they get a lead, that's when they're dominant because they're so talented. And we saw in this game, they got the lead, but depends on how they have a lead. An early lead, and if they're able to, teams are able to come back on them because they don't play solid defense. They're just looking to outscore you. And like we said, this game started out with that. I just think they jumped on the Caps after the Caps having a back-to-back, and they were off the night before.
Yeah. So my dad just thanked me for mentioning he's in the Twitch chat. We've got a lively crew in Twitch chat. I appreciate everyone for tuning in. All right, but then we start fighting our way back into this game. Lars Eller, 8th goal of the season, assisted by Justin Schultz's 9th at 7:36, just about 2 minutes after the last Oilers goal, made it 3-1. Connor Sherry scores his 11th of the season, assist by Martin Favari, his 4th, and then Nicholas Backstrom, my old friend, with his 10th assist. He's already got double-digit assists, even though he missed such a huge part of the season. Makes it 3-2, and at this point, I'm like, oh man, we've got a game, right? Goes into the third period. Kuzi scores an unassisted goal, his 14th of the season, 2:48 into it, and it's a tie game. It's a 3-3 game. It's anybody's game at this point. And then at the very end of the game, one of my best friends was at this game. Shout out to John Benson. And his fiance took him, and I was so excited for them because here we are, about 4 minutes left in the game, and we get a power play, Carol. And I text him, this power play was going to decide this game. If we score here, right, we're gonna win. I'm so frustrated that I was right, but it wasn't the way that I wanted it to. They scored a shorthanded goal, which completely at that point I knew this game was over. Right? I just, you don't have an opportunity like this with 4 minutes left and squash it and get another shot. Maybe it happens, but I think it's really unlikely at this point. Right. So, because they've already had done all that work to come back only to let it go away on a shorthanded. Makes it 4-3. They get an empty netter. Same guy who scored the shorthanded goal. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins gets his 5th and 6th of the season. Makes it 5-3 in the end. And I just think that we ran out of gas. We didn't have Ovechkin. Our power play was out of sync, and we're playing a back-to-back nights where we had to go to overtime and we had to travel. And it's just like, if we'd scored on that power play, we would have won that game, and we didn't. And then instead, it was shorthanded, and we were kind of screwed. So it is what it is. 5-3. I'll take one. I was hoping to get at least a point in out of it, and it's sad that we didn't.
That's the frustrating part. With only less than 5 minutes left, you were in a position to at least get a point. You have the power play in your favor, and even if you didn't score, you still would have had 3 minutes left. You were in a good position to get a point, and they find a way to turn the puck over and give them a shorthanded goal to ice the game at home. That left a very bad taste in my mouth. And like I said, they jumped on them early. They were off the night before. They were already in town. Caps, had to travel from Pittsburgh after the overtime game, as Robbie mentioned. No OV. I understand that. So, when they jumped out 3-0, I wasn't worried because it was still early in the first. But they gave her those 3 goals in, 5 minutes and 40 seconds. So it happened very quickly. So I felt like they just jumped on the Caps because they knew the Caps were tired. They were fresh. But as I mentioned, Edmonton can give up the lead. At home, with lead, they're deadly. And it's very hard to come back because that arena up there in Edmonton is a whole different ballgame. But on the road, they get the last change. You can take advantage. If you play your forecheck, get them stuck in a defensive zone, and you can play your game, which is what the Capitals did. And they whittled their way back into it, tied it up. And unfortunately, the unimpressive, even though, like I said, they're still missing a piece, but the unimpressive power play, did worse than not scoring on the power play. They gave up the game-winning goal shorthanded at home. Only other thing worse than that is getting shut out at home. So, yeah, this left a very bad taste in my mouth. But like you said, with all of those obstacles, no OV, no OC travel, she'll be back-to-backs, and Edmonton was fresh. I get it. I'm not, not ready to throw the team away, but it was a frustrating loss to not at least get a point to see them come all the way back the way they did. What game is this? I'm actually watching the Phoenix-Chicago game right now on NBA TV. I know you got the Wizards game was on, but
yeah, it's still on. It's pretty horrible. They just lost actually 100-121. This is a game where they were only down 7 at halftime. So we'll have a lot to break down with Champ and the team with that. But just really a frustrating game for sure.
Not too much prettier over here. I'm watching Phoenix and Chicago just come out of halftime. The Phoenix is up by 17 on Chicago, 69-52.
Right. All right. Let me see. I was just trying to bring some. So let's talk about the week ahead real quickly. So some teams don't have any games this week, and some teams have a bunch of makeup games. And these makeup games are actually going to be really tough for the Capitals. The Columbus game is tomorrow, February 8th at 7 p.m. We don't know if we've got Ovechkin back yet. He hasn't passed his COVID test. But even if he does, he can't fly to Canada, which means he can't go to the Montreal game on Thursday, February 10th at 7. So regardless, I mean, I'm hoping we get him for tomorrow because he's got another day off coming up pretty quick. And he can't even fly and can't cross the border if you've had a positive test within the last couple of weeks. So that's frustrating, right? So it's a bad time to have to go to Canada. And then we'll come back and we'll play Ottawa on Sunday. It's a 12:30 game. That's the one that's on Super Bowl Sunday. So that's the one that they always have.
Super Bowl Sunday Capitals game.
Yeah. So, so that's going to be an interesting one. It's weird because usually it's like Pittsburgh or Philly or some sort of rival. But on this one, it's against the Senators, and it's not even the national televised game. I don't even know if they do that anymore because now it's not NBC, right? But I'd be interested to see if ABC does have a national televised game that day. I don't even know. But
be a tough matchup though, because remember the 2 games this season, the Capitals and came back twice on the Senators, so they're pretty upset, especially at what the Capitals beat them 9 in a row at Capital won. So that's going to be a good game on Super Bowl Sunday.
Yeah, let's break down each one of them. I'll talk about the last five for each team, and then Carol, you can give your quick thoughts on it. We'll start with the Blue Jackets. They've lost to Florida 8-4 in their last game. Before that, they beat Montreal 6-3. They beat the Rangers 5-3. Lost to Calgary 6-0, and lost to Ottawa, the team we just talked about, 2-1. So that's their last five. For Columbus, what are your thoughts about them coming to town?
Their record says it all. They're an up and down team. One night they can play, great offense and, stellar defense. And some nights they, don't play any defense and put up offense. So it's all about the Capitals, enforcing their game and playing their way and playing tough defense to get them out of their rhythm and, get in their rhythm, especially with the power play lacking like it is. They have to start playing better 5-on-5 and getting more scoring 5-on-5 since the power play hasn't been able to give them that boost that they've been looking for.
Right. My dad's saying that all that really matters is how the Caps do in the playoffs, hopefully with everyone healthy. I agree. We haven't gotten to see Mantha Ray. We haven't seen a lot of our players, and it's been tough. We've been basing this team on being, missing a third of their top, forwards throughout the season. And it's really hard to really have a sense of how that power play is going to look, how the second power play team is going to look, how does the penalty kill look with a full regimen. And we had a lot of young players that have had to come up and down throughout the season.
So the same thing happened with the Nationals when they had a quality team, but the injury bug hit them at the wrong time. And next thing you know, they missed the playoffs. And with this tough Metro division, and the way the Rangers are playing unexpectedly well, that was definitely not on my radar this year. If they don't get their act together, they're going to find themselves out of playoff position. It's going to be hard to climb out of it. And like you said, this stretch right here is an unexpected stretch because this was supposed to be the Olympic break. So now they had to, change their whole mindset. And like you say, without Ovi, without Oshie, and all of the pieces, and you still have young players that's trying to find their way and find their chemistry in the lineup and learning how to be an NHL player. So there's a lot of intangibles working against the Capitals with this stretch. So if they keep on this, not going to say downward spiral, but this inconsistent spiral, they might find themselves looking on the outside looking in.
Yeah, that's for sure. I was just thinking about that. They probably didn't have a Super Bowl Sunday, planned because they were supposed to be away on their break,
Yeah.
So I'm looking right now. There's no nationally televised game because they weren't planning to play any of these games on this day, I think. So, so that'll be interesting for sure to see going forward. Let's talk about the next game, which is the Canadians. They lost to Edmonton in their last game, 5-3. Then they had beaten Pittsburgh in Pittsburgh 4-3. Before that, they had won in Dallas 5-0. Oh wait, no, that's ours. That's why I'm like, what is? No, they've lost 5 in a row to wow. They lost to the Blue Jackets, the Oilers, the Ducks, the Wild, and the Avalanche. And
all quality teams though.
Yeah, the only one that was close was the Ducks, which was 5-4. It was a 6-3, a 7-2, an 8-2, and I guess a 3-2 to Colorado. Colorado is actually not that bad, but so they're clearly needing a win badly, which is always a dangerous team to play. It's always tough to play at Montreal, and it sucks because it's one of Ovechkin's absolute favorite places to play in the NHL. He said it many times, and so it's frustrating for sure.
Fuel him when he gets back.
Yeah. So, what are your thoughts on playing the Canadians?
I'm looking at the goalie that's starting against the Capitals, and I see why they lost 5 in a row. They did. He's 2-8-4 with a 4.1 goals against average with a 891 save percentage. So the name of this game is get some pucks on him, get the puck to the net as much as you can because this dude is as leaky as a rusty faucet looks like. So I say, just shoot some more and get some traffic in front of him because giving up 4 goals a game, yeah, they definitely should win this game, even though it's on the road in Montreal. This should be a game for them to win this game, no problem.
Yeah, I'm actually, you know what I'm going to do real quickly? I'm going to bring in our guest because the Modfather lives in Canada, so he knows these Canadian teams better than anybody because they don't actually show a lot of American games up there, but they show all the Canadian ones. So I'm going to bring him and have a quick thought on these two games, and then I'll let you have your NFL talk, and we'll get out of here. Because I really, he's a Boston fan who lives in Canada, I believe, and so I want to get his take on Montreal and on
If there's a Brad Marchand reference, we're going to have.
All
Let me say
right.
that. Nah, we can't just don't bring that dude up, and we'll be cool.
All right, Stuart, are you there? All right, how are you doing today? Oh, I think you're. It's weird. It doesn't display muted, but it's saying that you are muted. Try to like toggle the mic real quick. I don't know. Let me here. Try to quit out of it and relog back in. Sometimes it messes it up. So we'll bring him in a second and see if that works. But the other game, I'll get Carol's thoughts on it real quickly, and then I'll get his take on it. Is that Super Bowl Sunday matchup? The Senators have they lost to the Islanders 4-1. They beat Edmonton 3-2. They lost to the Ducks 2-1. Lost to Carolina 3-2, and beat Buffalo 5-0. What are your thoughts on the Senators?
Like I said, this is going to be another tough battle against Ottawa. The Capitals have beat them twice this year. Both times the Ottawa had a 2 or 3 goal lead, and the Capitals were able to find a way to come back and beat them. They also have, like I said, have a 9-game winning streak over Ottawa at Capital One. So it's definitely going to be a tough game. Ottawa's going to come to play, and if the Capitals aren't playing Capitals hockey, and they give up an early lead to them again, I'm sure Ottawa, isn't going to let the lead slip away. We know the Capitals, got their mojo going and know they can beat this team, but they need to come out, fast, and they need to get the lead in the game because Ottawa's come out both games at Capital One with the lead in the first period, and the Caps had to fight their way back, and they were able to do that, but you can't keep on relying on that game in and game out, especially against this young, hungry team that has some fight and has some offensive skill.
All right, let's see. Stuart, is it working now? No, it's still not. Weird.
Man, I definitely want his take on the Canadian side of things.
Yeah. The border crossing is just not letting the audio come through, It's being checked at the.
They're putting the COVID protocol on Zoom.
Yeah. That's crazy.
I just got my second vaccination the other day. I got my card and everything, Rob.
Mm-hmm.
Is that?
Yeah, there you go.
There we go.
There we go.
Nice.
Oh, that's a weird setting. Okay. It told me to go to. I went to Microsoft Array setting, which I'm thinking, it doesn't make a lot of sense, but okay.
Yeah, who knows? I gotta love Windows. Anyway, but what are your thoughts on the two Canadian teams we're talking about here in the Canadians and the Senators?
Well, Senators, like you say, I know Ovi loves playing against the Senators, and the funny thing is, you told the story about how he, I thought he was faking it too when Tom Wilson got a freebie to the All-Star game. I thought, Ovi just doesn't want to play in the All-Star game, right? But apparently not, right? Apparently this is real. So that was a good point you brought up. I actually assumed he was going to play in the game. So, yeah, against the Canadians, yeah, Ovi always loves them. And what was the other game you were talking about? I didn't hear what.
It was the Senators.
Oh, okay. I have not watched the Senators much this year, to be honest. Matter of fact, I don't know if I've seen a single game by the Senators this year. I'm looking to see my schedule here. No, haven't seen one yet, but I don't like the Senators.
Yeah, I'm sure you don't. Yeah.
Check them out. Ottawa is a hungry team. They got Kachuk. He's a little over the line sometimes, but he brings that feistiness to the lineup, and they have a lot of offensive skill with those top draft picks that they had over the last few years. And they're a fun team to watch, and they can beat any team on any given night.
Yeah, and Kachuk is, well, he's like his dad. I don't know if he'll be as bad as his dad was in the playoffs, but as far as a player goes during the regular season, Kachuk was hard to beat. I mean, we had him here for years, and he was a great player during the season and sucked in the playoffs. Could be possibly one of the worst NHL players I've ever seen in the playoffs, and his record shows for it. You look at all the teams he played for over the years; they never did anything in the playoffs, and he was there, the star, right? And his son is a lot like him. Here's something I've noticed about his sons. They tend to hold out for contract negotiations, which is something Tkachuk did all his career. You know, he would at the start of the season would start without him, and they'd go 10, 15 games without him a lot of times. So I'm finding it to be very similar that way. But you sure want a Tkachuk in your lineup during the regular season. There's no doubt about it, because they're monster players during the regular season.
Yeah, for sure. I'm going to get Carol's quick take on the name change, and then we'll switch gears to talk about the NHL All-Star. We did have a big announcement on
Before we let Stuart go, he mentioned Tom Wilson. I want to get his take and how he feels about Mr. Wilson.
Okay.
No, players like that, you love to have them on your team, don't you? When they're playing for the Washington Capitals, you two are excited to no end. Then when I'm watching them, I'm going, oh, frick, I'd love someone to take your head off in the middle of it. But honestly, he is a good player. He is definitely a good enough player that he, and I don't mind players like that too much. I kind of like the Capitals anyway, so I'm not total enemies with you guys. But the reality is, watching him play, you just go, oh my God, the guy's an asshole. Can I say that on here? Yeah, I guess I can.
Sure, internet radio, it's great.
Yeah, but but oh my God, if you're watching the Capitals and you want him to win, you want a Tom Wilson on your team. There's no doubt about it.
Right. It's very much like a Brad Marchand. It's like how much we hate him. Yeah. It's very similar.
No, we don't hate him. No.
What I find ironic is he calls Tom Wilson an asshole. He has, if not the biggest asshole in the NHL on his team, Brad Marchand.
Well, you see, I don't see him that way, though. I see him as a pure honest guy.
He licks people. How could he be a pure honest guy that licks people?
That is disturbing. But you know what I'm saying, though? When you've got that player on your team, you're happy as hell. But oh my God, when you're playing against that guy, oh Lordy.
I mean, he got booed at an all-star game. And like I've heard that before with some players, like the obviously players on the rival team. And yes, yep. I guess that we did break the Knights' heart, but I mean, they shouldn't have won it all the first year. That's bullshit anyway. But anyway, that's here nor there. But like
Tom Wilson, folks really hate that guy.
And everyone does. It seems to be like universal on like.
Oh yeah. I couldn't believe how much they booed him though. But again, I kind of like the Capitals, so I don't mind them, But if I guess Las Vegas hates the Capitals, and so yeah, they're going to boo them for sure. But they really booed them. I haven't heard that since the '80s, back when they did the All-Star game completely different, and there was all kinds of nasty players out there, right? So
yeah, someone asked is licking a five. Is licking a 5-minute major. I like that comment. It should be. I don't think it was in the game, though. It should be a misconduct. That's ridiculous.
I remember he got fined, but I don't think they did anything in the game.
Yeah. But, all right. Real quickly, Carol, I do want to get your take on the Commanders. That is our new name. We know that I did not like that name last week. I'm going into it. Dugenet tried to say that it was
before you say anything, though.
Yeah.
Before you say anything, I just want to say I'm sorry, you guys. Okay, go on.
All right. I think this is my goodbye to the show tonight. I'm gonna end on this note, but I have several thoughts on this, and some folks might get offended, but at this point, I don't give a damn. First of all, the name Commanders. I don't love it. I don't hate it. Honestly, I don't care. All I care about is this off season, with us having $40 million under the cap. Brandon Sheriff's probably going to be gone, so that's another $18 million under the cap. Landon Collins, if he doesn't take a pay cut, that's another $17 million under the cap. So we're looking at almost $60 million under the cap, and we're looking for a quarterback. And there's already talk of Russell Wilson is on their radar and is open to coming here. So all of you fans that's upset about the name change, I made this comment and I put this post out the day the name came out. You all said if the name was Commanders, you were going to leave. You were no longer going to be a fan of the franchise. So my first question is, why are you still here? If you don't want to be a part of it, if we have the worst owner in the league and it's the Daniel Snyder curse and they can't do nothing right and they even screwed up the name, they even leaked the name and couldn't even keep that secret, why are you here? There's a team up the road, 30 miles, Super Bowl consideration every year, great GM, great front office. Why are you here? because you're the gloom and doom fans. That's your new hashtag. So all the crap you talk, all the trolling I've done this week, and yes, I will be doing more for all of you folks that said that you were leaving. And every time you post something about my team, I'm going to come on there and say, are you staying or are you going? Why are you posting about my team if this is no longer your team? Because I want you to admit that it's nothing they can do that's going to make you happy. They can go 17-0, shut out every team and score 500 points. You're still not going to be happy. So we don't want you no more. Go somewhere. I'm tired of seeing the post on social media. I'm tired of hearing you whine. I'm tired of you chiming in on my Facebook Live whining about stuff. We won a game by 20 points and you're complaining we should have won by more. I don't want to hear it. You don't like the team. You don't like the owner. You don't like the franchise. They can't do nothing right. Why are you still here? Because you're an abused spouse. What do they say? Get out the relationship. But you keep coming back. You keep coming back. So that means one thing, either you like it or you just like complaining. You cannot confuse the last 2 years and what's going on now with the last 30 years. I know it's hard. I know it's frustrating being a Washington fan. I'm a diehard fan, but I'm also a realist and I'm also an ex-coach and I understand football. And yes, some teams can make that jump in 2 or 3 years but they're not like this team. We have a crazy history. We have a crazy setup of what was going on here. But you cannot continue to focus on the past. This is a new name, new brand, same franchise. So let's make a clean break of all the negativity and all the BS from before. New team is no longer the Redskins. It's no longer the Washington football team. It's the Washington Commanders. So put that negative mindset and all that negative garbage that you hear on the mainstream radio stations that blow that smoke up your butt and get you all fired up, and they want that clickbait and want you to, get upset. We're going to school you in knowledge and insight. The trademarking, I know I've seen y'all complaining about the name also, San Antonio Commanders, AFL team. First of all, that league doesn't exist anymore. Second of all, other teams, the Red Wolves, whatever, Red Hawks, the other teams have to be willing to negotiate to allow you to use that brand. If they don't want to negotiate, they don't have to. That's why they spent the last 2 years in court. So all of these posts about, oh, wow, well, the Commanders is somebody else. That team doesn't even exist anymore because the AFL doesn't exist. So my parting shot is the new season, new regime. We got a good foundation. They headed in the right direction. Leave all of that other negative stuff back in 2021, 2022 season. Start the next season, new team, new name, and hopefully a new quality quarterback leading this team in the right direction. And after that, I'm done, Robbie.
Nice. I'm putting on screen for people that are watching a graphic that I did. And my favorite thing that I found out about this was when they announced that it was going to be the Commanders, I thought of Cobra Commander. And so people are watching on the Twitch feed. They saw that I made a Washington football team Cobra Commander, and I posted it online. And this is what I love about the internet. Like, maybe we'll have a couple of people tune in tonight from Facebook, but I posted this online. Over 3,000 people reacted and saw it online and thought it was hilarious or didn't understand it. They didn't get G.I. Joe. It's a pretty funny imagery, and it'll take some time for people to get used to it. For me, this was my way of like photoshopping out my frustration and just being able to be okay with it, making a joke with it. And suddenly after I did that, I was much happier overall with the decision, and I'll slowly get behind it, right? I mean, I've been a fan of this team for a very long time. I was born during a Washington football team game. I guess it's a Commanders game. I'll still say I was born during a Redskins game, because that's technically what it was. But going forward, we'll call them the Commanders, just like we call them the Washington football team. And if people need to either get behind it or they need to move on, and it's not the best name, but unfortunately, people trademarked the best names, and they couldn't get them. And there was too many issues with the Timberwolves, and there was too many issues, with the Warriors, and we didn't want to go down that route. So this was a name that they could get and they could have, and we could, grow with. And what do you think, Carol? Do you think we can sing "Hail to the Commanders"? Would you be okay with that, or do you think we need to do a completely new fight song?
It doesn't have to say any new fight song. It doesn't have the same ring to it. They can say a new franchise name. Going forward, they need to come with a new song. I saw some folks say, if they come up with a new fight song, it has to be a go-go song. So I could
I
get
like
my,
it. I can get
I,
behind that.
I can get
That's
my.
awesome. I want to give a quick couple shout outs here. We've got a lot of people on our Twitch stream. We have already 35 people in here. We got a double raid, Carol, which you don't watch Twitch as much, but that means 2 people raided at the same time. So a shout out to the daughter of our guest right here, Stuart. She is a phenomenal music streamer. I'm going to do the Modfather command here, and you can learn a little bit more about her. So definitely go check out Jillian. And I also want to thank our guest who's going to be coming on in a little bit, Davey the Sandwich Guy. Davey Eats a Sandwich. It's a show where they talk about all sorts of stuff. I've been a guest of it, and I highly recommend people coming through to there. But they just did a great show, and they came across, and they're going to be talking Olympics with us in just a few minutes. But I'm excited for both groups to be joining us tonight. I hope that they enjoy. We're going to talk a little NHL. We went a little bit long on our NHL segment. We're going to do a speed read of some of the different events of that when we let Carol go here. But Carol, thank you so much for joining us. If people who want to check us out more, they can check us out on sportsothb.com's Facebook page, or join me on Twitch, twitch.tv/RobbieG_sportsothp. But Carol, thank you as always for helping us break down the hockey talk and some football talk. And we'll definitely talk to you next week.
All right, man. Appreciate it. I'm gonna take the rest of the night off. Let you guys have Olympics coverage in basketball. I'm gonna have a couple of more adult beverages and get some things together in my life. If you're still on my feed, I'm about to play some videos at the end. I'm about to drop off of this feed, and check you next week. And make sure you check out At the Bar Radio every Sunday around 6:00, streaming live, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all of them. All right, Rob, have a good rest of the show, man.